go ahead and get seated. Hopefully you've had a good day. We designed it that way, so I appreciate you guys participating and taking part in this day. This is where we get serious for a moment, and I've known quite a bit of you. And this is a time where I want you guys to get serious, I want you to get insightful and thoughtful about the presentation that we're about to hear. I know as a principal and as a teacher and former coach, this has affected my day, and it continues to affect my day every day that I'm here at Badger High School. My goal is, as a school, it affects me, our teachers, our coaches, and yourselves less and less as time goes on. I just hope we get better at this. Taking care of yourself online, taking care of your friend and family member online as well, putting your best foot forward, creating an identity online that's positive, and at the same time doesn't tear down other people. This is our talking point of our message today. Dr. Padgett came all the way in from Eau Claire University, probably got up at about, 4 or 5 this morning and drove in. And he's going to spend some time with us, giving you his insights as he sees it throughout this nation. He travels from district to district. He works with law enforcement in this country and abroad. And it's our privilege to announce to you Dr. Padgett. Nice round of applause.
How we doing? First day. I should tell you, it's about a 4-hour drive from Eau Claire, where I live. I teach at UW Eau Claire in the criminal justice program, so I teach future law enforcement officers and lawyers, and my classes start on Tuesday, so I get a couple more days. But I was up at 4 a.m. this morning taking pictures of the Northern Lights. So that's one of my kind of addictions / passions. I woke up in the middle of the night, saw the Northern Lights were out, so that was kind of fun. But I have to say, as I was standing here kind of watching you all file in, I was sort of snapped back to my first day as a freshman in my high school. And I also have to say that your high school is a lot cooler than mine was. I mean, we didn't have like jumpy houses and all that kind of fun stuff out there. But I will also tell you that my first day as a freshman, I remember it vividly because I grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota. And my graduating class was probably 125, 130 students, and that was 4 or 5 towns combined together. And on that very first day in the high school, this big, scary high school, right, that I was infrequently in, I'd rarely been in it. So it's kind of this scary place. And we didn't have a day like you do today to kind of ease your way into figuring stuff out. So I was lost. I didn't know what the heck was going on. But the first thing in the morning, we had an assembly. Okay, not too different from this one. And the principal was standing on the stage, basically giving us information. Maybe you had the same experience earlier today, but talking about the different policies and responsibilities and appropriate behavior, and talking about appropriate clothing, and said, and I want to see you after this assembly is over. And he was pointing to me. So on my very first day as a freshman, after the assembly got done, all my friends, classmates, exited the auditorium and got tours of the school with their, first period teacher. And I was sitting in this empty auditorium with the principal up on the stage, basically talking to me about the shirt I was wearing, which was inappropriate. Now you have to remember, this is the first day of school, right? So I was proud of this shirt, right? I won't tell you exactly what it said, but let's just say it had a picture of a duck splashing around in the water, wearing rubber boots, a raincoat, and it said, Surgeon General said, always wear your rubbers, right? So I decided to wear this on my very first day of high school. Was that appropriate? Probably not. So I didn't start out my high school career on the right foot. So basically what I want to talk with you about today are some ways that you can make sure your high school experience, your college experience, your life moving forward can be positive. Specifically talk a little bit about how you use technology. I love technology. Technology is great. It's a big part of your lives. It's a big part of my life. It's moving constantly. It's changing all the time, which is amazing. It's great because there are new websites developed. There are new devices invented, new ways for us to communicate with our friends and family members, right? And there's always that darn grumpy cat that just can't get rid of them. I don't know what it is. It just keeps popping up over and over and over again. But as technology evolves, so too do the potential concerns, the worries, the situations we might put ourselves in that creates issues for ourselves later on, or maybe for a friend or family member. One concern with technology is that we're so focused on that 5-inch screen in front of our face that we forget about the world around us, right? We're playing a game, we're texting our friends, we're Snapchatting, whatever it is. Like, that smoke I smell? That's no big deal, right? I mean, I know adults have this problem. I have this problem sometimes where I'm just so engrossed in what I am doing online that I forget to nurture the relationships I have with people in the real world, right? That's one problem. I'm not going to talk a lot more about that. But I do want to talk briefly about how technology can be wielded as a weapon, right? So cyberbullying. With you all, I don't need to spend a lot of time defining what cyberbullying is, right? As high schoolers, you've heard this speech before. In middle school, I'm sure you heard it all the time, right? But it's being mean. It's using all that technology that I know you have access to be hurtful, to be disrespectful, to be cruel, okay? And a lot of times that cyberbullying is happening right alongside the bullying that's going on at school. So let's make sure that stuff is in the past. That's the kind of stuff that middle schoolers do. And honestly, I do see less of it in high school in my research, so let's make sure we don't see any of it here, right? When I talk with adults about what I study and what you guys are doing online, one of the first questions they ask me is, well, where does cyberbullying happen? And I don't need to tell you this, because you know where it happens. You see it happen. All the great environments you like to hang out online, if there's a new app, if there's a new website, if you're using it, you're seeing people abusing it, right? I should tweet that. That was pretty good. I gotta remember that, right? But that's true. I mean, you see it everywhere, right? Whether it's, again, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, they can always be used to cause harm, right? Like, how would you feel if somebody created a whole website about you, right? Just being hurtful, being mean. Maybe they create a, Instagram profile, Tumblr profile. I talk to a lot of people about their experiences with cyberbullying. I get emailed probably just about every single day. I get about a phone call a week from somebody who's being cyberbullied or somebody who's trying to help somebody who's being cyberbullied. And I see the worst of the worst. It's pretty terrible how we treat each other. Like I was talking to this girl about her experience with cyberbullying, and she was telling me how helpless she felt because she didn't know who was doing it. She didn't know why they were doing it. She didn't know how to get it to stop, who she could tell, who she could trust. She felt completely helpless. Right? And I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me how angry he was, how mad and frustrated he was. He wanted to get back at the person, he wanted to get revenge, right? And that's so easy to do with technology. Maybe somebody sends you a text message saying, "You're ugly." You say reply, and you say, "No, you're ugly." Yeah, really great response, huh? Now you're just as guilty as they are, right? Now it's not cyberbullying. Now it's a fight. Now it's conflict. Don't let them take you down. I've seen it happen so many times before, where I'm saying mean things to you at school and you're ignoring it, and I'm posting mean things about you online and you're deleting it, and finally after weeks or months of this, you snap, you say something mean back to me, and now you get into trouble? It happens all the time, okay? So don't respond, don't retaliate. It's hard, I know. You want to stand up for yourself or a friend, but you can't do that. It's not going to solve the problem, okay? What does a cyberbully look like anyways? It could be anyone, right? Boys, girls, kids of all ages, big schools, small schools. That's the thing about cyberbullying is you really never know who it is, right? It could be anyone. That's actually my best friend. His name is Samir. He lives in Florida. And I talk to him every day. We text all the time. We texted like 10 times already this morning, right? He's a good friend. So we were riding in a car one time, this was a few years ago, and he made this funny face, and I took a picture of it because that's what friends do, right? And I thought, I'm going to put that in my presentation. And I thought, is that cyberbullying? Right? So I asked him about it. He said, oh, I don't care. You can put that picture in your presentation. So just because it's a funny picture of somebody doesn't automatically make it cyberbullying, right? If the person gives you permission to post it, if you wouldn't be hurt if somebody did the exact same thing to you. Basically what it amounts to, the most important thing is how it makes that other person feel. Okay? And I know he was okay with it because I asked him. We shouldn't just assume that they're going to think it's funny too, because they might not. Okay? So if you have any question at all, any doubt in your mind at all, ask them if they're okay with it. They might be, right? Especially if you're friends and you have the same sense of humor. So here's a math question for you. I know it shouldn't be any math on the first day, that's fine, but what percent of students do you think cyberbullies others? Any guesses what percent? 81? 99? How many do you think it's higher than 50%? More than half of students do this. Actually, it's pretty close. It's about 10%. About 10%. Actually, it's funny, I was asked, this is the first presentation I've done this academic year. The last one that I did in May, I was speaking to some middle schoolers, and I think a sixth grader said, 100%! I said, well, you should have said 99% because I don't know what you're doing, right? But the reality is, most students aren't doing it, okay? The problem is, we all see the behaviors of those 10% and we think, well, everybody must be doing it, right? Because we hear about it, we see it. Worse yet, the adults in your lives see those behaviors or hear about them, and then they assume that everybody must be doing this, or at least a big number. And as a result, they make rules, they pass policies, they restrict your access to technology because they think everybody's involved in this stuff when they're not. Okay? So it's in everyone's best interest to get this number to be even lower. Because basically, those 10% are ruining it for the rest of us, right? Because they're acting like idiots online. So if you see somebody abusing technology, or abusing someone else using technology, tell them to knock it off. Especially if it's a friend of yours, just say, no, that's not how we do things here. That's not who we are. We're better than all those other schools in terms of how we treat each other, right? We look out for one another, okay? Especially in high school now, you're role models for all those kids who are younger than you, okay? I talk to a lot of young people, formally through my research and informally, at things like this. And when I ask those who admit to me that they've cyberbullied others, when I ask them why they did it, the two most common responses I get from them are first, revenge. They did it because the other person did something to them first, so they felt like it was okay to do it, which, again, it's not, right? But the number one reason they say they did it is they were just trying to be funny. It's just a joke. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? We're just playing around, okay? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of funny stuff online. Right? Pictures, videos, memes, all sorts of crazy stuff, right? But if we have to make fun of somebody else to have a good time, if we have to tear somebody else down, make them feel terrible in order to get a laugh, that's not cool, right? That's not good, okay? Again, we need to think about how that other person feels when we're posting or commenting or doing whatever online. Again, there's a lot of funny stuff online. I don't know if some of you saw this summer. There was a story about these two cell phone towers that fell in love and got married. And the wedding wasn't much to remember, but the reception was amazing. It's the first joke of the year. What are you gonna? I was gonna tell you the one about the skunk, but it really stinks, so I didn't want to go there. Oh, all right. Okay. So, look, we can have a good time. We can laugh, even about serious things. But again, remember, think about how it's making that other person feel. Okay, when you're saying and posting certain things. I want to talk about some of the other stuff you guys are doing online and where you're hanging out. Well, I'm just curious, back to school, so what's popular? You still like Instagram? Still using IG? Snapchat, probably? How many, Musically? You guys use Musically? Your little sisters? Alright, that's fine. What else? What am I missing? Tumblr? MySpace? Really? Alright, so the Facebook, I love Facebook. So the technology constantly changes, okay? The apps, the environments, and as a part of my job, I have to try them all. So I usually try different apps and hang out on them and learn them. But the principles, the basic principles for using technology responsibly are the same no matter what app you're using. So I could come back here when you're seniors, and we could be, maybe Facebook's dead, maybe Snapchat's dead. Facebook's got something planned. I don't know if you guys know about this. It's supposed to take over Snapchat, so we'll see if it does. We'll see. I don't know. But whatever it is, and MySpace may be resurrected, right? Who knows? Whatever it is, the basic principles of using these things are the same, right? The key is knowing who has access to what you're posting online, right? And then only posting things that basically you wouldn't care if the whole world saw, right? And so there's ways to sort of protect yourself and your content. So I love social media. Like I said myself, I have all the different apps and environments. I particularly love Facebook, Instagram, some other places. But for me, I use social media to keep in contact with friends and family members who aren't nearby, right? I do sometimes tweet with my colleague who's in the office next door, right? We'll tweet different things back and forth just because we want to be goofy. But mostly it's for people that don't live near me. Now, the one thing, sort of the most important thing I think, or maybe one of the most important things you can do to protect yourself online is making sure all of your profiles are set to private, right? And if they're set to private, whatever environment you're using, then only those you accept as friends or followers can see what you're posting, right? Now, they can probably see through a friend of a friend or whatever. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But the key then is only accepting as friends those people you know and trust in the real world. Okay, if you do that, then, and especially if you use basic common sense when you're posting online, then you're probably going to be fine. Okay? But there tends to be this unwritten rule, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know if you disagree with me, that the more followers you have on Instagram, maybe the more friends you have on Facebook, the more popular you are in the real world. Is that true? Yeah. No? You think some people believe that though? Yeah? So we tend to accumulate friends, right? Maybe it's a friend of a friend, maybe it's somebody you meet at a party one time, maybe you're playing a game online. Next thing you know, you got all these friends, right, or followers, and maybe only some of you know in the real world. Okay? And then you post all sorts of goofy information to your profile, pictures, videos, blogs. Now these people you don't know all that well have access to all this stuff that you're posting, okay? I'll give you some examples. These are all pictures of former UW Eau Claire students, my university, that I found on Facebook, okay? I have no idea what this kid's doing, but probably playing World of Warcraft. So I'm not friends on Facebook with any of these students, okay? These are all public profiles. Any one of you could have found any one of these pictures if you're on Facebook. I do know who some of these students are, because I've had them in class, and come to think of it, one of the students pictured here is now a police officer somewhere in Wisconsin. Not too far away from here, come to think of it. So if you're pulled over, and someone, man, you look familiar. I don't, so just can't place it. Could be this person. One of them's a lawyer in Minnesota. So they've done okay by themselves. They've gotten good jobs. They've moved beyond their, pictures on Facebook. But people are looking at these images and they're judging. They're making decisions about hiring. They're judging you based on whatever it is they can find out about you online. Okay? And there's no shortage of information. It's pretty unbelievable. So every second There's more than 3,400 pictures uploaded to Facebook. Almost 1,000 pictures posted to Instagram. That number's going to go up. This number's about 6 months old. You know, Instagram is just sort of exploding, so that number's going to go up. About 9,000 snaps are sent on Snapchat every second. Isn't that incredible? 9,000. Okay. About 6,000 tweets are posted. 400 minutes of videos uploaded to YouTube every second. 400 minutes every second. I don't really understand how that works, but 17,000 videos are played on Vine, those short videos. So that's a lot of information that we're posting online. Okay, and think about those pictures, right? We love posting images online. Now, if you post a picture, let's say to Instagram or Facebook, and after a while you remove that picture from your profile, you delete it. Is it gone? No. No, but you deleted it. Yeah, you guys are smarter than that. Actually, Facebook admitted, remember Facebook owns Instagram, okay? Facebook admitted for years that, you know, there was a glitch in their system. If you deleted something from your page, it was still accessible through some kind of backdoor ways. They admitted it. They knew it was a problem, they just didn't know how to fix it. Well, about 1.5 years ago, they came out and said, we've solved this problem. If you remove something from your profile, it's really gone. Do you believe them? No. I don't believe them either. I feel like anything you post online, especially the social media page, is liable to be there forever. Okay? I can promise you that Facebook's never going to get rid of it, okay? Because they're basically using that to market to you. They're developing this kind of profile of what you like, what your friends like. It never ceases to amaze me. I'll be sitting eating my bowl of cereal in the morning and then scrolling through my Facebook feed and seeing a commercial for that particular cereal in my feed, right? It's scary. I'll give you another example. This was last summer, not this past summer, last summer. A friend of mine, that friend that I like to tweet all the time, whose office is right next to me, he tweeted that he got stung by a bee. So I tweeted him back and said, are you sure it was a bee? It was probably a yellow jacket. And he tweeted me back and says, I don't know what it was, it hurt. So I was on my phone, I went to Wikipedia, I found a picture of a yellow jacket, and I texted it to my friend. And he texted me back and he said, I don't know, I didn't get a good look at the guy, right? So I was in my office at the time, I was doing some work, but I was also listening to Pandora, okay? And the very next commercial that came up on Pandora was, got a problem with yellow jackets? Call Will Kill Pest Control, we can help. So within like 6 minutes, this Twitter conversation / text conversation on my phone ended up being on my office desktop. Pandora was paying attention and thought for some reason I needed the services of pest control person, right? That's, even though I study what I study, that kind of shook me to my core. I was like, wait a minute, okay? How many of you have iPhones? You got an iPhone? Yeah, I got an iPhone, I love this stuff, right? You know that Apple's tracking us, right? You know that Apple's tracking us? They know exactly where you are at any given time, right? Even if you have your location services turned off, they know who you are, right? So you got to think about that. So I'll give you an example of this. So a friend of mine, his job is to forensically analyze devices for the police department, right? So if it's believed you're involved in a crime, he's the guy that gets your cell phone, your tablet, whatever, and he can get all the good stuff off it, right? The stuff you thought you deleted. So he knows how to get all that stuff. He says, give me an iPhone, and I can give you the world, right? Because the way the iPhone is set up, it just stores everything, where you've been, and lots of data in that iPhone. So he gave me an example. He said there was a situation a few years back now, this was a few years ago, imagine the technology now, but where somebody in northern Minnesota was setting a bunch of fires. Okay, so it was a serial arsonist. Okay, and the police, they suspected somebody, but they couldn't pin it on him. They didn't have any evidence that he was involved. They just thought he was involved based on some other kind of, speculation. So they suspected him enough where they convinced a judge to get this guy's cell phone. Okay, and it was an iPhone, and they gave it to my friend in Minneapolis who does this kind of stuff. And just by looking at the data on the cell phone, the police were able to put him at the scene of 3 of the fires 10 minutes before they started. Right, just by looking at all the data on the phone. Okay, And it turns out this guy, obviously has pretty compelling evidence, right? This guy in random places 10 minutes before a fire breaks out. This guy who was setting the fires turned out to be the chief of the fire department in the city. So they probably wouldn't have caught him if it wasn't for those meddling kids, right? So you got to think about kind of what you're doing, where you're going, how you're posting. That stuff's out there. But it doesn't have to be that sophisticated in terms of forensic analysis. It could just be the stuff that we're posting. These are examples of Facebook status updates that I've found, and I see this all the time. These are all people, I've never met any of these people, but they're all telling the whole world who they're with, where they are, they're away from home, how long they're going to be gone. I do want to point out Marissa on the bottom here because she's having a party at her house on Friday night. And here's her address, 7283 Lane. BYOB, which of course stands for Bring Your Own Book, because it's a study party, right? So, why would you post this on a public Facebook She just invited over 1 billion people to her house. I'll see you there. I'm bringing signs. I don't know what you're going to bring, but it's going to be a crazy party. Not a good idea, right? Maybe some of you remember hearing about this. This happened a couple of years ago now, too. You remember hearing about this? I don't know. This is a guy. Somebody posted this picture anonymously online. This is a guy working at Burger King, okay? So I don't know if you can kind of tell what's going on there, but he's standing on the lettuce, okay? Posted completely anonymously online. But you guys are smarter than that. Nothing's ever completely anonymous online. You guys know that if you take a picture with your cell phone, that there's certain information digitally attached to that image, right? It's called EXIF data or metadata. So it's like the date, the time, some of the characteristics of the picture. Depending on the settings on your phone, it could be where it was taken, the GPS coordinates of exactly where you were standing when you took that picture, right? You guys know that, okay? So people who know more about technology, quickly found out that this was taken in Mayfield Heights, Ohio, by looking at that EXIF data, right? So. But there was some disagreement. There was some people were like, well, wait a minute, how do we know this was the Burger King in Mayfield Heights? Maybe the person bought their phone in Mayfield Heights. Maybe the phone was bouncing off a cell phone tower in Mayfield Heights. You don't know that this was the Burger King in Mayfield Heights, right? Which is, it's a good question to ask. And you think like a lawyer, right? Think like a police officer. So a much clearer, crisper version of this image was circulating online for a couple of days, and somebody made the brilliant observation that if you look at that barcode on that box, it'll tell you exactly which store it was sent to, right? So within 3 days of this appearing anonymously online, the 3 people responsible were all fired. The guy in the picture, the person that took the picture, and their manager, they were all fired. So nothing's ever completely anonymous online. Even you have those so-called anonymous apps, right? They come and go, they change all the time. Just realize they're not anonymous. Okay? When it comes right down to it, just about everything can be traced back to a particular device, a particular user on a device. Okay? So another example, again, not very sophisticated. This girl was helping her grandma count money, count cash, right? I have no idea why she was doing this, but she was. So she's surrounded in all this money. And you guys know what it's like to be surrounded in a lot of money, right? Yeah, absolutely. So she takes a picture of herself with all this cash, and she posts it to Facebook. Well, you know how this story's going to end, right? A couple guys broke into the house and stole the money. The police actually caught them, and they said that the only reason they knew about the house and the money was because of that Facebook picture. It's like, why would you do this? Okay? There was a trend, thankfully very short-lived, probably 4 or 5 years ago already maybe, where high school students, it was called hashtag first paycheck, right? So what these high school students would do is they would take a selfie holding their very first paycheck, right? You get your first paycheck, this is cool, you're making money, you're working, it's great. But the anybody think of some problems with that, right? If I take a selfie holding my paycheck, I've got picture, name, address, where you work, how much you make, maybe banking information, all that information in that one picture, okay? So think like a criminal and don't put information out there that could get you into trouble. Here's another example. This is a Tumblr page, public Tumblr page. I don't know anything about this person except I know a lot because she's telling us, right? My name's Marissa, go to Pine Ridge High School. birthday, where she lives, best friends, Kristen, Rachel, Lainey, sister Sarah. There's her phone number right there. So, you know, if I wanted to find her, stalk her, cyberbully her, I got everything I need, right? She's giving it to us, okay? Here's another example. This girl lives in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, right by where I live. Sadly, I have bigger dreams than this small town. I'll be a junior at Chi High, that's the high school in town. Got her email address, phone number, instant messaging, screen name, all sorts of pictures. Used to be, whenever I went into school like this, to do an assembly, I would poke around online to see what I could find about some of the students. So who do you think I picked? No, I didn't pick any of you, relax. I got awful quiet there for a second. But how would you feel if I had your Instagram up here? Would you be okay with that? No. Facebook, maybe some of those Snapchat pictures we've been sending around. So here's the thing. A couple things to keep in mind. First of all, if you've got your profile set to private, you know, then I'm not going to be able to access anything, right? Because we're not friends on Instagram or Facebook. I don't follow you on Instagram, right? So as long as you've got it locked down, you know, I'm not going to hack into your profile. I mean, somebody might. I'm not going to do that. But the real question you have to ask yourself is, what are you worried about, right? What are you concerned about your whole class seeing, your teacher seeing, okay? You should be proud of what's online about you. Okay, I've seen some pretty amazing student-created social media pages, blogs, websites where they highlight all the amazing stuff they're doing, maybe artwork, graphic design, creative writing. I've seen like poetry, really amazing stuff. You should be proud, because people are looking. So if you're nervous, if your heart skipped a beat at the prospect of your information being up here for everyone to see, then you probably need to see what's on there. Make sure it's appropriate. Make sure it reflects, you know, who you are, who you really are. You should be proud, right? Let me tell you about a little case study that my friend Samir and I did a few years back. You remember Samir? He was the one who was sticking his tongue out. We wanted to see how easy it would be to find information about people online. Okay? So we got the instant messaging screen name of a friend, right? So this is the nickname this person uses for instant messaging. You know how it is. You have some kind of handle, a username, maybe a kick name or WhatsApp, whatever messaging app you use. Sometimes you use a nickname, right? So this was the nickname. Didn't know who this person was at all, but we wanted to see what we could learn about this person just from having that nickname. Okay? So, what do we know about this person? If we just look at this nickname, what do we know? Okay, all right, so her name's Chloe, might be born in 94 or 89, or there's something there with that number, right? Maybe there's just 10,000 Chloes out there, I don't know. All right, so that's a good point. We can sort of guess some things about this person just by looking at the nickname. So think about what others could guess about you based on the nicknames you use, right? But we started out pretty simply. If you were tasked with this kind of thing, what would be the first thing you would do? Google, right? Of course. So we put it into Google to see what we could find. And we found quite a bit. We have her full name, including her middle name. Her first name was Chloe. We have her date of birth, which was, ding, 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 September 4th, 1989, right there. Very good, you guys got it, I know. Height, weight, hair color, got hundreds of pictures of her. Here, she's never even met you before, and she's saying, I love you. Right, isn't she sweet? Yeah, I know, that's nice, right? Yeah, exactly. Lots of pictures. We started out with her instant messaging nickname, screen name. We got her email address. She's a University of Florida student who grew up in Miami. Got a permanent home address where her parents live. Got her cell phone number, a couple other phone numbers linked back to that permanent address. We know that she goes to a Baptist church that's 7.1 miles away from her permanent address. We got some information about her family, dad's name, picture, email address. We actually found her dad's resume on a job site. He was looking for a job. Got pictures of her younger brother and sister. There's more. That's Alex. That's her boyfriend. I think they make a pretty cute couple, right? Got his information, date of birth, height, weight, major in college, okay? She's got 2 roommates. One is named Lindsay. The other one is named Lindsay. They're spelled differently. One is AY, one is EY. We know that Chloe's room is closest to the thermostat in their apartment because it's always hot. Lindsay's room is further away from the thermostat because it's always cold. We know what sorority she's a part of, where the sorority house is, the Greek letters associated with that sorority. We know that she drives a gray 2004 Nissan Maxima. Pictures of her with her car, license plate, where she graduated from high school and when, favorite hangouts, favorite drinks. She's done a lot of volunteer work. She taught Vacation Bible School for 2 summers. We got pictures of the kids who were in her groups those 2 summers. That's her little brother and sister right there. There's Lindsay number 1 right there. And she suffers from keratosis pilaris, which is a skin condition, and hypothyroidism, and she's currently taking medication. Okay? So we found all this information. We didn't pay any money for any of this. It's all freely available. It's not like we went to one of those websites where you pay for like a background investigation. It's all free. We didn't hack into any websites to get this. It's all publicly viewable stuff. Like I said before, any one of you could have found every last bit of this information. Okay? At the time, so this was a few years ago, at the time she actually had a MySpace page, but it was set to private, so we really didn't get anything from it. We have an 80-slide PowerPoint with all the detailed information we found about Chloe. I basically showed you 2 slides, okay? So the moral of the story is, be careful what you post online because you never know who might find it, how they might use it, what kind of trouble it can get you into. That stuff's out there, okay? One final comment about this. Well, first of all, that's not her real screen name. I changed it because I didn't want you going online tonight to try to find her, right? I know how you think. Not going to make that mistake twice. Actually, kind of a funny story. About a month after we did this, my buddy Samir was presenting the full 80-slide PowerPoint to some college students. And it's a pretty powerful presentation because it has all of our information, the websites we found it on, the search engines we use, pictures of our house, address, phone number. It basically walks you through exactly what we did to find all this stuff, okay? And the students in the audience were kind of like you guys, are looking at this and, mumbling something under their breath about how we're a bunch of stalkers, maybe. So 5 of the students in the audience actually texted Chloe and told her about the presentation. So she emailed us. She wasn't very happy. She threatened to sue us. It's a true story. An email said, "You made all my private information public." It's like 17 exclamation points. I just replied and said, "We did? Because you're the one that put all your private information on the public World Wide Web for everybody to see. P.S. Do you want some ice for that burn?" She did, right? So we went back and forth with her on email, and eventually we agreed to anonymize her stuff. We changed her name. We stopped using the 80-slide PowerPoint, and she agreed to call off the lawyers. But that first night that she emailed us, she went online and she deleted everything. All of her pictures, videos, blogs. She even deleted her MySpace profile, which was kind of too bad because we didn't get anything from that. But she deleted everything. Or did she? Can you ever completely delete something you put online? No. Those pictures at the beginning, on the very first slide, I actually got a couple years after she put them up. Quick question. She does now, right? So that's the whole point of the story. That's kind of the punchline is she didn't know, but now she knows. And actually, we did have a pretty long conversation with her about it, and she came to the realization that she had made some mistakes, and she basically allows us to use this as long as we changed her information. She doesn't want people texting her anymore. But as an educational tool, she basically said we could use it. So Yeah, so again, the number one thing is check your privacy settings, right? Go into all your accounts, make sure you know who has access to your stuff, okay? So, make sure it's, the thing about Facebook in particular, and Instagram by extension, is they change their privacy settings without even telling anyone. So I check my privacy settings every few months just to make sure I know what's going on, right? So you want to make sure it's friends, right? Friends only. Not friends of friends, right? You don't know who your friends' friends are, okay? So make sure it's friends only. Because, you never know, again, who your friends are and who your friends of friends are. And this is how social media works, okay? So this could be you and your small little network with a few friends that you know and trust, right? But next thing you know, through a friend of a friend, you're connected with this guy up here. I'm sure he's very nice. I guess I'm not sure, but he's probably pretty nice. But you have no idea, right? You have no idea. Well, hopefully you don't have any idea, because if you did, that'd become embarrassing. But so you want to know who you have contact with, and who's connected with you, okay? The other thing is, the average teen has 300 connections on social media, okay? That's average, okay? So that means if you've got 300 friends, let's say on Facebook, and your friends have 300 friends, now your friend of friend network is 90,000 people, right? You can see your stuff. And it's unlikely you know all of those. I'll give you another example of how this could play out badly for you. I have a friend who was talking to a high school student who, actually this is pretty smart, he used his Facebook page kind of like a resume, right? So he curated it in a way where he posted all this amazing stuff about himself. This particular individual is actively involved in the community and at school, and so whenever the newspaper did something about him, he would post it to his Facebook page. So basically, it's all this amazing stuff, kind of like a LinkedIn page, really, but he used his Facebook page for that. So then, when he was a junior in high school, he started applying to colleges, right? And so you'd go on tours of these colleges, and you'd get tours with these tour guides, you'd meet different admissions people. Well, then he started following all these different colleges and being friends with all these different admissions people in all these colleges, right? Really, actually good colleges. Because basically, what was he doing? He was inviting these admissions people to spy on him, right? And basically saying, yeah, you can check me out. And then when they spied on him, they saw all this amazing stuff that he did. He's a really good, student, involved in lots of stuff. And so again, it's pretty brilliant, right? The problem with that plan is many of his friends were applying to the same schools, okay? And if you're one of his friends and you have your settings so that friends of friends can see into your profile, now all these college admissions people can see your profile, right? And maybe you haven't been as smart or neat in terms of how you're curating it, and maybe there is some things that you posted that you wouldn't want, a college admissions group to know about. So think about how those other people might perceive you. So President Obama was talking to some high school students. I can't believe this was 7 years ago. That's just crazy to me. This is already 7 years ago. And he was talking to high schoolers about being careful what you post online, and how we're living in a YouTube age, and what we post on Facebook, and everybody sees it. And I was actually at the White House 5-6 years ago for an event. I was from Media with the president. It was really kind of neat. He was having a bullying conference, and I was a cyberbullying guy, right? So the fact that the president of the United States takes these things seriously means we should take them seriously too. So I want to give you a couple other examples of what I like to refer to as social networking mistakes, okay? So, what do we have here? We have a young man wearing a fairy costume. Tinkerbell, yeah, he's got a beer in his hand. So let me tell you the story behind this. This guy gets a text from his friend saying, we are having the party of the century tomorrow, you gotta be here. And he texted his friend back and said, no man, I gotta work. And the friend texts him again and said, no, you gotta be here, everybody's gonna be here. So he emails his boss and says, Paul, Jill, just wanna let you know that I'll not be able to come into work tomorrow. Something came up at home, I had to go to New York this morning for the next couple of days. I apologize for the delayed notice. Kind regards, Kevin. So our pal Kevin here skips out on work, goes to the party, and apparently has an amazing time. There are some pictures taken at that party. Some of those pictures ended up online. So the next day when he gets a response from his boss, it says, Kevin, thanks for letting us know. Hope everything's okay in New York. Cool one. Cheers. Right? So the boss saw the pictures online, knew he was skipping out on work, he got busted. Okay, here's another example. This girl, these are all real stories, all true stories. This girl gets a new job, and it's her first day on the job, and she's not having a very good first day. So she posts a status update to Facebook. First day at work, OMG, so dull. All I do is hole punch and scan paper. OMG, I'm so totally bored. Right, bored. Well, that afternoon, she gets an email. Following your comments made on Facebook about your job and the company, we feel it's better that, as you are not happy, do not enjoy your work, we end your employment with Adel Marketing Logistics with immediate effect. So she got fired. Yeah, first day. Exactly. So, the interesting thing about this is it's not like she threatened anyone. She didn't say her boss was stupid. She just said she was bored, lost her job. This is one of my favorite ones. This just happened a few months ago. Did you hear about this? So this girl posts this picture to a public Facebook profile, basically saying, "Oh, I'm truly blessed. The love of my life has asked me to marry him, and oh, save the date, and your future Mrs. Kelly," right? So I don't know if you noticed anything about this picture, but anybody know what that is? That is a pregnancy test. Okay? So, yeah. So people notice this, right? And so this guy's like, is that what I think it is in the corner? You guys gotta crop this out. And so then the bottom one, this is her dad. Honey, you should call us. Your mother is confused, right? So then she's like, well, wait a minute, what are you guys talking about? Why would you hey guys, we're having a baby too, right? It's like, seriously, oh man. Pause before you post, right? Take a second to think about what you're posting online and how other people see it, right? We see things like this all the time. Here's an associate head football coach from Penn State, dropped another prospect to Sam due to his social media presence. Actually glad I got to see the real person before we offered him. So this kid can get a full ride scholarship to play football in the Big Ten, and the associate head coach sees something he doesn't like, no scholarship. And what I'm curious about is whether the student athlete even knew that there was that potential offer. And here's another coach from a different school. Don't let 140 characters cost you 140 grand. We see examples of this every year. Don't let it be you. Okay, don't let it be you. Think about it. All right, we're running out of time here. Just to kind of wrap things up, let's just do this. Final reminder to kind of summarize everything I've talked about. Okay, don't be a jerk online. Don't be a moron online, right? Don't think you're invincible. Don't sabotage your future. You've got a very bright future. You don't want to throw that away because of some party or some problem with another person. Okay? Be all about integrity. Be all about integrity in terms of how you interact with others, doing the right thing always. Okay? Whether it's online or offline. I have a friend who used to play football for a professional team in a neighboring state. He walked on to this football team and ended up being a captain. He says integrity is doing the right thing when it costs you. Okay, when it costs you. It costs you your time, it costs you a friendship, it costs you money, it costs you something. So if you have integrity, you'll always do the right thing under any circumstance, whether somebody's watching or not. And I can promise you, if you live your life with integrity, people will respect you more for that. Okay, you can follow my work at Words Wound. You can, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Look, use technology. Just use it safely, responsibly, appropriately, and everything will be great. Thanks a lot, you guys. It was a great year. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on.
And a couple announcements. Get a nice round of applause for Dr. Patrick, please. All right. Jacqueline's going to say a few words before we send you guys to the activity fair. Hold on, please.
Okay, guys, so you're heading to the activity fair. It is in the sports center today. We're going to go through the comments to get there. when you get there, you're gonna get a passport, which you're gonna walk around to all the activities, check out all the clubs we have here offered at Badger, get it signed by